miss playing in these woods. As children, we would run from our parents, our chores, our village, and immerse ourselves in the fantasy worlds conjured up from our own naive imaginations. When we were children, there was no creature. The elders have taken to calling him the Leshy, after some sort of forest demon from the old monster books. At times, the trees may shift when there is no wind, a branch may crack, or a family dog might be thrown against a rock with enough force to break its neck on impact. Our dogs were brave. It wasn't long after that people started going into the woods as well, a few, at least. A small band of the village's most courageous drunkards, led by none other than the gluttonous brute Portsmouth Chevet, kicked down the very door that had for so long muffled their childish antics and stormed right on into the darkness. Chevet demanded the creature present its head, lest the drunken warrior have to take it by force. We assume it was the creature's reply, or perhaps lack of one, that inflamed the first candle of madness in Chevet's mind. The brute had tensed. A fire rose in his eyes, his skin nearly blood-red, moments away from breaking his own teeth against each other. "Search, men, search! Climb every tree and turn over every branch until our tormentor presents itself!" The wives of these drunken men cried out from the edge of the village, begging that their childish husbands come home for the night. Everything went silent when a black cloud moved through the sky. Crows. These birds did not squawk, did not blink, did not even so much as twitch their heads in curiosity. They simply stared, meeting the gaze of every man, including that of Chevet's. "They are watching!" screamed the madman. "They are the eyes of the beast!" They throw themselves at the birds, often catching naught but feathers. Eventually, one man, whether in a fit of drunken creativity or sober intelligence, picked up a rock and hurled it into the air, striking down and claiming the first crow of the night. "Good work, Ivan!" screamed Chevet, for the first time without a hint of anger in his voice. This brief expression of pride and camaraderie was soon extinguished when the birds fell silent, and then proceeded to drop from the sky one by one. It did not take long for Chevet to consider this a victory. "What is wrong with you men?" screamed Chevet. "Don't you see we have won, that we have frightened he who has tormented us for so long?" None of the men so much as glanced at Chevet. Instead, their widening eyes fixated on the 8-foot-tall figure that had been observing them from deeper in the woods. Though cast in shadow, the men could clearly see it had limbs of bone, intertwined with bits of bark, leaf, and fur. They soon realized that the fur came in patches of different color, thickness, and length. This was dog's fur. The twigs and bones, strung together by its own vein-like vines, glistened in the moonlight. It made no noise, besides the occasional clink of bones from the breeze. The famous rage that had become a staple of Chevet's character by this point was nowhere to be seen. The fire in his eyes had extinguished to a wide, cold circle, and the once boiling red face had now been painted white in fear. Suddenly, the wood itself seemed to descend upon the men. Branches, extending and contorting in ways thought unimaginable by man, began to wrap themselves around some of the men, choking and dragging them deeper into the dark wilderness. More crows, soaring silently through the black sky, plunged their beaks through eye sockets, gnawing at their newfound fruits, and whips made of vine and thorn descended from the trees, slashing those that still stood. The torches carried by some of the men fell to the ground, inflaming the piles of crow corpses around them. This inferno began to spread across the dead grass and trees, and the smoke and flame encompassing the very last man who had, unfortunately, survived for this long. Chevet remained on his knees, in his state of shock, a mere few feet away from the demon, who had also remained still during the massacre. Neither seemed concerned with the growing wildfire that began to close in. Instead, they locked eyes, entranced with one another, until all that could be seen on the woodline was the rising smoke and bright orange glow of the man-made inferno.